Bat music.
He's not a bat, he's a man who fights crime. And we're gonna watch him fight for a minute at a time. With John and Niall and a guest who just rhyme. It's Bat Minute!
Hello, and welcome to Minute 2 of Bat Minute Returns, the podcast where we rattle the cages of Tim Burton's 1992 Batman movie, 1 minute at a time. I am one of the hosts, Niall McGowan.
I am another one of the hosts, Jiggy John Parker.
There is a little bit of a waka 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 action going on later in the film, but that's way down the line.
We'll get there, folks.
Yeah. I remember at the time seeing it when I was a kid, been like, what? And now it's just like, what the hell is that? Why is this in the movie?
As a kid watching it, you were like, hey, man, this is rad.
But anywho, today we're here to talk about Minute 2 of Batman Returns. Minute 2 begins with the Cobblepots sort of painstakingly drawing their gazes over to see what spawn they have wrought. And it ends 1 minute later with the Cobblepots about to do something with that very same spawn that they have wrought. So
shady goings on atop a snowy bridge. Oh my God. What are they doing? We'll get there, folks.
Again, considering just like, out of that context, when you've grown up with this movie, it's just like, oh yeah, this is just the way Batman Returns starts. But on a base level of like, this is your family summer blockbuster, and this is where the movie's going already. It's like deformed baby in a cage and stuff. It's like
it's pretty weird.
It's a weird movie. But yeah, as we were talking about yesterday, there we have Tucker and Esther Cobblepot, drinking their martinis as the rich and evil are wont to do. Anyone who knows Mason Verger from the Hannibal franchise would know all about that.
Ooh. It's interesting though that they look like, obviously they look like they're thinking about what they're going to do, but at the same time they do look sad, like they look morose, don't they? Like they're not. It's interesting in this film. We're going to get a bit more into it, but it presents what is going to happen to the Penguin as evil, right? They do something very nasty and evil to him. But as you'll see in this minute, he is already portrayed as a monster.
Yeah.
So it's conflicting. It's very interesting. They're not outright evil. He's not outright evil. It's like a little bit of both worlds.
Yeah. Well, I think you could argue that they are outright evil.
But if their kid is a monster who is about to eat a cat, well, an actual monster.
Well, we'll get to that, once we come across it in the minute. But yeah, we do get the Cobblepots looking very disdainfully upon, in a very kind of very snooty manner, because you do get from their body language that even if they are sad, these are the snooty elite. This isn't your Thomas and Martha Wayne. These are the kind of asshole rich people you hear about all the time.
Yeah, they're the opposites, basically, aren't they? They're like the mirror.
These are the 1% that you do not like. But of course, then you mentioned last minute, John, that Esther, played by Diane Salinger, who quite notably is that she was in Pee-wee's Big Adventure with Paul Rubens, playing the part of Simone. I kind of figured like they probably should have got. I would have liked it if they had got E.G. Daily, because she's Pee-wee's love interest. Begrudging love interest. He doesn't seem to really give her the time of day until the end. But she's throwing herself at him. But just because I like E.G. Daily, because she does legendary voiceover actors and stuff now. Did Tommy Pickles and was in the Powerpuff Girls and stuff.
Oh, I forget she's Tommy Pickles, actually. That's mad.
But I was like, she's always a welcome presence. But Diane Salinger, she's not a bad actress either. Because mentioned that she was in Ghost World. She's a psychiatrist for Steve Buscemi at the end of that movie. Ghost World, great film. She's also in, I noted, the episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm where Richard Lewis's date. Was it each eats a brownie, and at the end they're going doing awards, and her face blows up, and you don't see the face. But I remember that it has Joan Rivers in it, and I could remember at the end she's like, "Oh, and E.T. phoned home. Did you pick up the phone?" And she's making fun of her because she's broke out in this hideous allergic reaction to a brownie that she's eaten. And I hate Joan Rivers. I've always hated Joan Rivers. And I just when I saw that episode, I was like, this is why this poor woman's had an allergic reaction, and Joan Rivers just picking on her on live TV. Why the hell would you do that?
You really hate Joan Rivers.
Oh, yeah. It hurts even more. Joan Rivers and me had the same birthday. And I look up what celebrities had my birthday? Frank Grillo. He's pretty cool. And then Joan Rivers.
That's really why you hate her, because she's stealing your thunder.
Yeah. Well, now she's dead. Of course, everyone pays attention to me more on my birthday.
Of course, yes.
But then also noted that she plays, kind of tying into things that we've done in recent months, actually, because I noted she's in Carnival. She plays Clea Duvall's mother, who remember is like catatonic, and she speaks to her psychically. Carnival, great show, cancelled way too soon.
Yeah, it's a shame. I would still recommend you watch it, even though it doesn't get the ending it deserves.
And in this era, though, like old TV getting revived. Like, Gilmore Girls is back, and Twin Peaks is back, and all this, and like Will and Grace. All this stuff. It's like no talk of a Carnival revival. It's like this has not even got the basic fan base to like crawl back for like a mini series or just like a movie. Just like even Deadwood's getting a movie. But
I'm not keen on that because I love Deadwood. It's been too long. I don't want to come back to it now. Move on.
Well, you never know. You're always happy to see Timothy Olyphant in anything, really.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'll give you that.
But and then noticeably though, her character in Carnival is called Apollonia. And we just did a whole friggin' thing on Purple Rain, which had the lead woman, and that's called Apollonia. So there you go.
Oh my god!
And then we also featured quite recently on, actually speaking of Deadwood, the Spider-Man Minute podcast, where we talked about. I remember briefly it was brought up that Molly Parker from Deadwood is in the first episode of Boardwalk Empire, but just in a photograph. She's Buscemi, again, Steve Buscemi. There you go, connections already. But she's his wife and just in a photograph. She never appears in the show. And then Diane Salinger apparently is in Garden State as Zach Braff's mother, his dead mother that he's going to the funeral of, only in a photograph though. I was like, because I remember at the time, we're like, I wonder if that's a common thing that they do. They just like hire proper actresses to be a face in a photograph. Maybe. Apparently they do. Apparently they do.
Maybe you can get like a cheap deal on a job lot of pictures off the talent agency.
I would have assumed though that would just be a job for like, hey, one of the camera crew is like, hey, do you want to be this guy's wife in a picture? There you go. Just go with hair and makeup. You're done. All you have to do is sit still. Like with Molly Parker, I could kind of think like, they're going to, potentially they were thinking would have flashbacks or something, so we'll get a proper actress in. But like in Garden States, unless there was deleted scenes or something, they were like, they would have known this is a movie and there's never going to be any flashbacks, but we'll still pay for this actress. And of course, though, like now Garden State, remember a brief shining moment in the mid-2000s where people liked Garden State, and then it's just sank to the bottom of the darkest pit where everyone really hates it now for some reason. I
remember that just everybody had a glowing review at the time.
And like now it's kind of like, even if you mention that you like the Shins, people are like, oh yeah, Garden State. It's like, look, the Shins are a good band, all right? They just happen to feature in a really cheesy scene, all right? Just leave the Shins alone, damn it.
Leave the Shins alone. Yes, me making my dated Chris Crocker Leave Britney Alone references. Yes.
Yeah. I wonder if we could get Chris Crocker on the show.
No, I don't know. He's best friends with my favorite drag queen, Adore Delano, and he's also now an adult film actor.
Is he? Oh, I thought he was just like, he's doing nothing. Like he would have been like, you can get him for a song kind of thing.
I see Chris Crocker constantly because I'll be watching something with Adore Delano in, and they just hang out all the time.
Fair enough. But yeah, as we mentioned in the first minute there, they turn around now. Apparently they've at least paid someone to put up a massive Christmas tree. So we know a certain period of time has passed. They're at least like, a couple of days. But we then see like, they've kept the baby what we're presuming is the baby, in like a little kind of metal black box on the ground with bars in front of it, a cage, literally, like a little cage. And
well, that's the thing. Do you believe in nature or nurture? Like, even if he's born this way, that wasn't a deliberate Lady Gaga reference, but even if he is born this way, doing this to him probably won't help matters.
No, I wouldn't imagine so.
No.
But that's the thing, though. Like, I have so many questions about, like, just this whole situation that they're in, pretty much. Because it's like, okay, they put the baby in the cage. Presumably it's been biting people and stuff like that. But then, how long has it been? Because it's like we know people now who have got children who have had, like, babies very recently. And I can tell you, it's a couple of months before they're even able to sit upright. But this baby's, like, grabbing the bars of the cage and rattling and stuff already. So it's, like, supernaturally advanced already. Unless you want to be like, oh, it's just a movie. But come on, it could still be, like, you know, what's the deal? What's the deal with the baby? Huh?
Well, he's a monster.
No, I guess so. But again, and then the thing is, you know, we should mention, because this could just be called, like, foreshadowing the minute, you know, because everything in it is a little bit of foreshadowing. You got, like, the Christmas tree. You got the fact that the whole movie set at Christmas. You got the Tucker Cobblepot's outfit of the monocle and the cigarette holder with the cigarette in it, which is then you get in front of the box. He's got a little yellow rubber ducky that's sort of dangling there. That's like, oh yeah, that's, you know, an allusion to the yellow duck car that the penguin has later on.
Yes. Oh, then, I'm glad you spotted that, because it took me a good few viewings to pick up on that. I'll be honest.
It's kind of wondering what the mentality of that is. Is like, is this, and even with him, you know, he only really does it in a couple of scenes later on in the movie, to be fair. But, like, it was much more. It was on the poster where you had the penguin with the cigarette holder and the monocle. But the fact that his dad looks like this, and then you've got the yellow duck, is there supposed to be an allusion to, like, because he's throughout the movie trying to reclaim his birthright and, you know, get back, come, you know, sort of re-legitimize himself and his family name and whatnot. Yeah. Has he held on to these memories as, like, somehow in his head of, like, yes, a yellow rubber duck, this is a comforting image for him because it's from his childhood.
Oh yeah, I mean, you get the impression that's kind of his only interaction, maybe, is this little duck looking at him.
So yeah, it could be that, and then maybe it's like him seeing, he has a memory of his father with his monocle and this, you know, cigarette holder. Although again, he really uses the monocle for the purposes of when he's writing stuff. So I don't know what that's. Well, we can talk about all that later when we get to those minutes, I suppose. But then yeah, another massive bit of foreshadowing is that we get a little cat that is sort of you know, milling around the box, and then the little baby reaches out and grabs the cat into the box, and you've said several times, eats the cat. And the thing is, I've always been under the impression that he eats the cat, but we don't actually really see him eat the cat. We just hear him fighting the cat.
I suppose he could just kill the cat.
Yeah, or we never really hear him. The cat, maybe the cat emerged victorious. We never really.
That's why that's why they're about to do what they're gonna do. I won't say, because they were like, well, he's the loser.
Yeah, you find out that this cat is the heir to the Cobblepot.
Oh my god, that'd be great. Oh, is this also? I've only just in this moment thought of this. Is this why he kind of has a weird sort of fascination with Catwoman? He has a cat thing going on.
Maybe, yeah, it could be. Apparently, the penguin's only childhood memory was this one scene where he's like, everything about me, yellow rubber ducks, the monocle and the cigarette holder, and cats. It was all this one day. No,
oh, God. People hate that. That's why people don't like that scene in Last Crusade.
Oh, yeah. Well, that scene is like a bit ridiculous. Because it was one of those things, like, who was ever asking about where did he get the scar? It's like, I didn't care. It didn't matter.
Can I be honest, right? I grew up in the VHS era. So picture quality wasn't great. Let me be honest. I didn't know he had a scar.
Yeah, neither did I. Until I saw that movie, and I was like, yeah, they make a big point of him hitting himself on the chin with the whip.
But you can't see the damn scar on his face.
Finally, all the people who only ever saw Harrison Ford movies in the cinema are like, oh, finally they've addressed it. But,
we've all been asking it.
Yeah, there should have been a scene in Solo though where he's like on that train, and then he falls into like a lion cage or something. They just do the exact same scene over. And he's like, oh, that's how Han Solo got the scar as well.
Oh my God. I bet they were so tempted to do that. Someone must have stepped in and gone, no. With regards to this movie, though, I do really enjoy that first you see the cat sniffing the crap out of the box. Because as a cat owner, as a cat dad, let me tell you that if you introduce a single new item to the home, the cat will spend about 10 years sniffing it. Like, that's all they do. Or sitting on it. Or they'll interact with it instantaneously. I enjoyed that. Although then I got really sad because I don't like it when cats die in movies. Again, I own a cat, so that's one reason. But also, like, I mean, it's a cliche. Like, you kill the cat. I think maybe people, because it shows like an evil character without going the whole hog, where some people get really upset about a dog. Yeah. It's like, well, it's halfway. It's like, no, it's not. This is worse. Kill a human. I don't care about a human. Yeah. I don't want an animal to die.
I'll say I'm not a big pet person, so like this didn't faze me at all. I was like, before, at least I was more optimistic than you were. Though I was like, well, you never know. Maybe the cat beat the baby. But,
battered him.
Other little things that we'll just note here is that I think I forgot to mention in the last minute, and that opening shot of the kind of rich person's gates are kind of harkening back to the beginning of Citizen Kane, which of course the original, the first Batman movie, did that quite a bit as well. There was a couple of visual references to Citizen Kane, but this business here, this shot particularly of the from within the baby's perspective. And it's the whole thing of like having this hideous baby, but not showing you it. It's very reminiscent of Rosemary's Baby. Like, I think that's what you're kind of evoking, like, well, a satanic baby that's literally like evil. It's kind of, I think that's probably what they were trying to go for, like directly with like, yep, that's like when she meets the baby and it's in the little crib and you just see the things dangling from the thing on top. It's a bit like this, and so I'm assuming that's what, that'll be a direct reference Tim Burton would have been working in there. But then, of course, I just enjoy the marble floor design. That's little black and white bits, was like, that's a bit like a penguin.
Yeah.
And if you know, in Arkham Knight, if you go to Cobblepot Manor, it has a little crest at the front that's not exactly that design, but it's very similar. So I'm assuming the game designers were like, yeah, we'll throw in a little nod to Batman Returns. Well, instead of weird, like, Cupid busts or whatever they were, he's literally got like penguins everywhere. The
design on the floor also kind of, to me, maybe I'm just looking too much into it, it kind of resembles a pattern you get on an umbrella. When you have a two-tone umbrella.
Yeah, totally, actually, yeah. Other thing we should probably address, as one of those things I sort of wrestled with, like, should we come out with this now? Because I guess it would be a big thing for later on. But we might as well just talk about it now. Because it's so, once you read it, it's so predictable. In the Daniel Waters original draft of this, which isn't the best draft, I have to say. Thank God there was revisions to it. But we actually find out that the Penguin, or the Cobblepots, have another son.
Yeah.
The script opens with the other kid looking in on the baby, and then the mother saying, like, oh, don't stare at your brother. And then as soon as you read that, like, haven't seen the movie before, and then giving, like, oh, yeah, the Cobblepots have another son, I was like, oh, I wonder who that's going to turn out to be later in the movie.
And it's exactly who you're thinking it is, I'm sure.
Of course, yeah, Bruce Wayne was the Penguin's brother. No, of course, it's Max Schreck. It's the character we'll be talking, and I'm looking forward to talking about Max Schreck, believe you me. But
well, look, other than that, though, I mean, Daniel Waters' script is largely, this section, this scene is largely the same, isn't it? It's very similar. But before that, there is a Sam Hamm draft, because he took a crack at it, and the whole thing's really different. But this opening, especially, it's not even remotely the same. You've got it opening with people Christmas shopping, and we see that Batman has become a celebrity, and there's cheap knockoff merchandise getting made of him and things like that.
Yeah.
And it also opens with a heist, like a kind of heist, which is not very Tim Burton.
Yeah, although friggin' Chris Nolan, though, like that's what he did for the.
I
was my second Batman. Oh, a heist. There we go.
Well, that suits him. Just Burton. That's not the opening of a Tim Burton movie.
No. I think that Sam Ham draft is, we talked about it a bit last season, but it was just like, that's not very, it's one of those things, like, this movie worked out really well, but, like, the steps along the way, much like with the first one, actually, we read those earlier drafts, it's like, oh, this is awful. And then
you could probably say that about most films, though. I mean, look at the original Star Wars drafts. Jesus.
Oh, yeah. That, to be fair, like, that's probably why, like, a lot of those things, like, people say, like, you see deleted scenes in DVDs, and a lot of people are like, I'd rather not see them because like they realize how awful things could have been. That's what the editing room is for. That's what rewriting scripts is for. Yeah. And I know that like I was saying, like Stanley Kubrick was very protective over. Like that's why you very rarely get any deleted scenes, because if he cut material, the negative was taken out and incinerated. Because he's like, I don't want anyone ever seeing that was there.
Well, I would have said the same for David Lynch until he did that new Twin Peaks box set where he put about 100 billion hours of Fire Walk with Me outtakes.
Yeah. And the thing is, the great scenes that should have been in the movie.
A lot of them, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, some scenes in the movie that originally were there that he could have taken out.
I would like the option, like when you choose to watch Fire Walk with Me, where you can do it like a tick box to say which scenes you would like reinserted, and it puts them in for that viewing. So you can go, I want this scene in there, I want that scene in there, leave that one out, play. Yeah. That'd be great. You should have that for Star Wars as well.
Oh, it'll be like could be like the next stage of interactive media. Just like you can kind of choose the cut of the movie as you go, and like you can watch all 15 versions of Blade Runner simultaneously by going, I'd rather see the director's cut of this scene and whatnot.
That would be cool.
I guess you could technically do that now if you had the editing skills yourself, but then who's the time, John? Who's the time?
That's what it is. I mean, we could technically do it. We're seasoned pros now, of course. Yes. But, jeez, I couldn't be bothered. I'm a lazy man.
But anyww, we'll also note as well that we got the battle between Cat and Penguin. Well, we don't know it's a penguin yet, but or it's not even really it. It's the person who will go on to be called the Penguin, if you will. But I will note that like they get a little shot of the Cobblepots again, sort of staring with a sort of this mildly disgusted expression, and a very sort of cold and heartless kind of look they give him. But we'll note that they put on Esther Cobblepot the pearls, which is a kind of call to Martha Wayne, which is one of those things that's like one of the major appeals of Batman villains is that they're always in some way a dark reflection of what Batman could be.
Yes.
So if you consider like, the Joker is like, Batman's order, the Joker is chaos. He's the opposite reflection of him. The Penguin, in that regard, then is like, well, he's someone from aristocratic stock that went wrong. Like, whereas Bruce Wayne used all his money and resources and became like a good, upstanding citizen. Vigilante, breaking the law left, right, and center, but for a good cause.
Breaking the law.
And Oswald Cobblepot also comes from a virtually identical background, only his parents weren't murdered in front of him, and he goes on to like a life of crime, and he uses his resources for evil and whatnot. And Bruce Wayne's tall and handsome, Oswald Cobblepot is short and ugly, and all this sort of business.
I would also like to say, do you think possibly it could be kind of like an extension of Bruce Wayne's mind, as in, I don't mean literally, let me just say, but as in, this is maybe how he thinks his parents would view him now. He's become a monster. Like, and the Penguin's personifying that. Like, maybe his parents would reject him, knowing what he's become now.
Oh, so you're saying like that's would affect, like Bruce Wayne would look at the Penguin and going like, that could be me. Like
his parents wouldn't approve of the what he's doing, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like
that. That's definitely an interesting take on it. Yeah, for sure. But, and of course, then throughout we'll cover it as we go. But we have all the business of Catwoman has been another side of as a person who's a vigilante, but is a bit more on the criminal side than she is, or the things she's doing are arguably justified, but it's a bit too far and stuff like that. So the whole thing is like there's always good with the old mirror imagery.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of that. That's another. I've said it before. That's why I'm not so keen on Gotham, because all these villains come in before he's Batman, so it's not even like a mirror anymore. Like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, there's a bit of the whole. The thing is, like, I actually did rewatch, or not rewatch. I stepped in a smidge with Gotham because I know that they've established the Joker now. They've actually brought him into the show. And I was like, I might as well see what's happened here. So I looked up the key scenes on YouTube, and it looks really stupid because they've got like. They had the kid who you thought was going to be the Joker. It turns out he's got an identical brother.
Oh no!
Yeah, and then it's like the first kid is like he goes through everything the Joker goes through without being the Joker. So he has his face cut off at one point and all this business, and he's just doing like people saying, "Oh, the kid's great," but like he's good. It's a good performance, but he is just doing like a more flamboyant version of the Heath Ledger Joker, where he kind of talks like this the whole time and blah 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 and all that kind of business. And it's I was like, oh, that's all well and good. And then it turns out like near the end, there's a scene of every supervillain's there. Like Mr. Freeze is there, the Riddler's there, everyone's there. Then he's invented the laughing gas, and he tries it out on somebody, and you see this guy laughing himself to death with this terrible CGI smile. And it's like that looks awful. And then that kid dies from like at the hands of Jim Gordon. Once again, much like the Joker, friggin' falls off a roof. And as the Joker is wont to do on so many occasions.
Yeah, that seems to be the only way to take him out.
Yeah, and then he leaves a little canister of the gas for his twin brother, who's the good one of the family. And he gets sprayed, and then he becomes the Joker then. And he's going about with a kind of very forlorn look, but he's got the skin, and he's got the kind of weird green eyes and stuff, and he's got the big wide brim purple hat and stuff. And it looks like they were going big with him. He had Gotham under siege and stuff. But the whole time I was like, this isn't like, I'm all for adaptations of existing material, like changing them and stuff. But this is all wrong. This isn't what this just doesn't fit for me.
Yeah, it sounds like I wouldn't enjoy it. And sorry, listeners, if you are a big fan of the show, come defend it. Come and defend it. Send us in some audio saying why you like it.
I feel better having rants about things later on in the show when we've already got a captive audience. But in minute 2, we could have been the Gotham fans. We're like, oh, hey, screw you, and just like turn it off. I was like, no, because we won't lay into it all the time.
These jerks, they hate Batman. No, we love Batman. Speaking of Batman, the movie.
Yeah. I do like. Yeah, we got the simultaneous slurping of the martinis. Again, evil rich people and their martinis, that's what they love. Although these ones, presumably, unlike Mason Verger, don't have children's tears in them, which was fantastic bit of theatricality that a Batman villain would do, I can imagine. But
who's to say they don't?
Oh, actually, that's true. Maybe we don't know what happened to that kid before he was put in the cage. Yeah. But, yeah, and then we got, I do love we got a kind of establishing shot of Gotham in winter, and it kind of pans down to us seeing what we will learn later is Arctic World, which maybe that pops up again later in the movie. You don't know. Maybe we'll be there again. And the Cobblepots sort of hurriedly making their way, down and come across another couple. And sort of give them a little like, oh, they're quite chipper and like, hey, Merry Christmas. Could be the Waynes for all we know.
That'd be great. I love the way as well they walk past them. And they slow down and pretend like nothing's wrong. Like, we're just out for a stroll.
There's a thing I do like here, actually, that's, again, slightly different from the Waters original draft, where he literally has, the Cobblepots speaking to, like, the other son before this happens. And it's like, I prefer, because like, when the other people say, like, oh, Merry Christmas, they don't even say Merry Christmas back. They just kind of give them this real, like, like a real... a pained grin, that kind of thing of just like, here's a little, just been polite. And I love that they never speak in the movie. It kind of adds a bit of a weird tinge to it, the fact that like this whole opening sequence, beyond those people saying Merry Christmas, it's like a silent movie almost. Like,
yeah, I would have said like if you took that bit out, in a way it would work better, because it would, much like we had a scene towards the end of the last movie that we thought, oh, this is a bit like an old horror silent kind of a thing. You could have done that in this, just had the music. Like I would have taken that dialogue out. Yeah. There was no need. They could have just done the very British thing of give each other a little nod as you walk past.
I suppose technically you could just take the dialogue out, because there is just like, if you saw what was happening, you would just know like this is a nice couple. They're just saying hello, and then they're just the other ones are just been like abruptly like okay, and then just walking away. And you can tell which one's good and which, because the good ones have got a white carriage and the bad ones have got a black one. It's like it's color coding 101 with Tim Burton over here.
Every bit of this scene just screams Tim Burton. This is the most Tim Burton thing you've ever seen in your life.
That's again too, because we're getting the Elfman choir is really coming into a full on like, you know, la 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 la. It's like, this is it. This Elfman's found his niche. It's like, oh my god, choirs! I didn't know I could do this before. I do like as they're passing, you do get a piece of music we'll have to talk about many times. We got our first little hint at the Penguins theme. So the vocals kind of go like, ooh. I was like, oh, that's a piece of music. It's going to pop up quite a bit, but in more pronounced, more sinister ways.
And you'll not get sick of it, let me tell you. That wasn't sarcastic, I'm being serious.
That's really that you're like, this John's secretly has hated the Penguins theme this whole time. Although, the differentiate from the first movie straight away, though, is that we do get, like, the Penguin, Batman has a leitmotif, the Penguin has a leitmotif, Catwoman has a leitmotif. Whereas the thing in the first movie was that Batman had his main theme, the Joker had the waltz with death thing, but it only ever played twice, and it was like it's kind of like a thing, like we put in this music to be like the Joker, but it's not a recurring leitmotif. It's sort of, we just slotted in right at the beginning with him, and then right near the end, and but this one's much more. The three themes of the characters are constantly reappearing and popping up, throughout the entire score. Like just, within random incidental music, you'll get a little bit of the Catwoman violin and stuff like that. So I guess you could argue it's a bit more of a sophisticated score in that regard. That is a bit more thought out in terms of like I'm working in all these different threads rather than just like Batman, the Joker, Batman, love theme. That kind
I think it's definitely like a step up. Not to knock the previous score at all. I mean, it was fantastic, but this is much like the movie as a whole. It's a real step to the next level.
I'm sure. I hope we'll be able to get Chris Santatan. I'm sure she did a great job talking about the Elfman music for the first one. So we'll try to get her back on for maybe minutes more, concentrating on the Penguin and the Catwoman themes. Like I
don't know, her favourite shots are the final seconds of a film, if you remember.
Yeah. I thought, weirdly enough, those scenes have been called already. That was Dale Kingsmill's ass for the funeral of the Penguins. Like,
spoiler alert.
That's the last week of the movie. I was gonna say, but actually, the only really kind of thought of that. I wonder if that is an illusion, though. That other couple. Could you argue that that's the Waynes? Would you think that like maybe that's what they were trying to go for? It was like, it's kind of like a not star-crossed lovers, but it's like coincidentally just before what happened to the Penguin happened to him, his family walked past the very happy mirror image of themselves in the Wayne family.
See, I have never once thought of that, but now you've said it, I'm almost entirely convinced. So that's my new headcanon.
Yeah. Although you think, though, if they wanted to really push it, they could have had, like, I don't know. It could have been like, Tucker Cobblepaw's like, oh, be careful of those trees. There's loads of bats in them or something. And
no.
They'd be like, oh, our boy Brucey doesn't mind, or something really stupid like that.
Oh my god, that would be great.
That would have been like in the friggin' the Joseph Mankiewicz script way back, the original draft of that, the other movie. That's the kind of crap he would have worked in, but. Yeah, no offense to the Mankiewicz script.
Yeah, that piece of crap script.
Yeah, so then we get them sort of going up again, foreshadowing the movie. This bridge, maybe this bridge pops up again later on down the line.
Ooh, you'll have to stay tuned to find out.
Yeah, and then we sort of they kind of make sure everything's a bit safe, and then they start to sort of do something with the carriage, and then we'll have to find out what it is. In the next minute.
Oh, that's the hook. That's the teaser. Now you gotta stay.
Yeah.
We have you now.
But yeah, again, it's like I would do kind of like much like the Godfather minute, like rank the minutes. But it's like it's a pretty good minute. It's starting off pretty.
Would you
strong.
say it's the best minute so far?
I don't know. That first minute had that nice bit of organ playing. You know how I like an organ.
Yeah. And it did have that nice Warner Brothers logo.
That was not an intentional bit of innuendo by me saying, I love an organ. But if you wish to look at it that way, then by all means.
Niall likes a nice organ.
But anywho, I believe that's the only other thing I really had was just like I just couldn't help but think because I did a little allusion earlier to the whole rattling the cages thing, and Batman Begins. Batman's talking about like we need someone who can rattle the cages. And I was like, oh, he would have loved this baby Cobblepot. The Christian Bale Batman and would have been best buds.
Oh, if only they could have met at a different time and a different place.
Could it be like alternate? Another comic that could exist of like, what have you had the Christian Bale like they did with the Turtles, where they brought like the 80s cartoon Turtles and then the mid 2000 Turtles into the same universe, and then they had like the original comic book version show up. You could have like, Adam in that Adam West 66 comic line. Why can't he there's another dimension I've gone into, and what do you know? Michael Keaton's Batman's here and stuff like that. You could have like, the Burgess Meredith penguin bumps into the Danny DeVito penguin and stuff.
I am on board. Sold.
Yeah, these are kind of things that people I don't know how much comics cost to make, but like they turned down that Batman 89 continuation from Kate Leth, and
which sounded absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and it's like, that can't get off the ground. And just the artwork they were providing was amazing. So it's like, if that can't survive, then what can?
This podcast.
Well, we'll see.
We will see. Which one of us is going to die first during this endeavor, folks? Stay tuned. And speaking of staying tuned, join us again on Friday, because we will be back to round out our first week of Batman Returns. We will have more action then. In the meantime, you can chat to us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr. Just look us up at Batminute. Except on Instagram, actually, that's still Batminute89 because we can't change it. Someone has Batminute, I believe. Yeah, I know. Who has Batminute? An evil jerk. That's who. But yes, we're always up for a chat. And go to TeePublic, buy their merchandise. We're always looking to sell T-shirts because we're becoming capitalist pigs. And also review us on iTunes because that's the nicest thing you can do for any podcast. Yeah, review all your favorite shows, not just us. Go on there and do it for everyone.
Let's keep wondering if we could do like, not to spoil what happens in the next minute, but could we do like a special design for Bat Minute Baby Grows that were like found in the sewer or something like that?
I think we should. So yes, join us again on Friday for more Bat Minute Returns.
Next time, bye, baby. As a cast-off kid cascades into septic city conduits, the film's brightest stars are about to get lit. But which homecoming headliner has finally hit the #1 spot, now that Nicholson's no longer in the plot? Find out Friday, same Bat Pod, different Bat Minute.